I didn't buy this house because I liked it. I bought it because it was cheap. Too cheap for a neighborhood where prices hadn't dropped in years. 2 stories, a basement, a narrow attic, and wooden stairs that creaked softly, like the house was breathing. The realtor used a standard phrase: the previous owners were in a hurry to sell. I didn't ask why. I assumed it was one of those stories where people get divorced, lose their jobs, or just want to get away. For the first few weeks, nothing strange happened. I unpacked boxes, fixed small things, got used to how footsteps echoed dully on the stairs. The house felt empty, not dead, not evil, just old. The problems started with small things, the kind you can easily explain away. One evening, I couldn't find the TV remote. I clearly remembered leaving it on the couch. I flipped the cushions, checked under the coffee table, nothing. I found it the next morning in the kitchen, next to the sink. I told myself I must have put it there and forgotten. Then my keys disappeared. They were always in the bowl by the front door. I searched the whole house, even checked the trash. An hour later, the keys were lying on the stairs, carefully placed in the middle of a step. It unsettled me, but it didn't scare me. The human brain craves logic. I told myself I'd moved them subconsciously. Maybe I got up at night and didn't remember. Maybe it was stress. I heard the first real sound about a month later. It was late at night. I was lying in bed. The lights were off, and the house was slowly cooling after a warm day. That's when I heard it, a quiet, barely audible scratching. Not from the floor, not from the ceiling, but from the wall behind my head. I froze. The sound was uneven, like someone was moving very carefully, trying not to make noise. Then a pause. Then again, slow, patient. I convinced myself it was mice or rats. Old house, wooden framing, logical. The next day I bought traps and set them in the basement and attic. None of them were triggered. The scratching came back. Not every day, not regularly, and always in different places. Behind the bathroom wall, near the stairs, above the bedroom, as if something was moving between floors. The worst part wasn't that. The worst part was that the sound stopped when I got up and approached the wall. As if I was being heard. I started noticing a smell. Faint, barely noticeable, but unpleasant. A mix of old dust, dampness, and something organic. I checked the basement dry. Plumbing was fine. I blamed old materials. One morning, I found dirty dishes in the sink that I hadn't left there. There were food stains on a plate. I lived alone. That same day, I noticed scratches on the inside of the bathroom vent cover. Thin, parallel lines, like they'd been made by fingernails. I called a handyman. He inspected the house, knocked on the walls, checked the basement. He said there were hollow spaces between the walls, old service corridors common in houses built decades ago. Animals can live there, he said. But when I asked him to open a wall, he refused. Said it was expensive and offered no guarantees. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in the dark and listened. Somewhere between the second floor and the attic, something was moving slowly. I heard breathing, quiet and even, not animal-like. Then I heard whispering. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone was human. After that, I installed cameras. Small, discreet ones. In the hallway, the kitchen, near the stairs. I needed proof. I needed to know I wasn't losing my mind. For the first few days, nothing. Then I reviewed one night's footage and noticed the hallway camera had shut off for exactly 7 minutes. No error, no signal loss, just black. When the feed came back, the rug had shifted a few inches. I became afraid to leave food out. It disappeared, slowly, not all at once. Whoever it was, they were careful. I started locking my bedroom door at night. That's when the knocking began, not from outside, from inside the walls. Slow, rhythmic, 3 knocks, pause, 2 knocks, pause. It didn't respond. I sat in bed, gripping my phone, ready to call the police. But what would I say? That someone was living in my walls. One evening, I decided to act. I removed the vent cover in the bathroom. Behind it was darkness, and a narrow space much larger than I expected. I shined a flashlight inside. I saw eyes. They vanished instantly. I screamed and fell backward, hitting the tile. A second later, frantic movement erupted inside the wall, like someone was running away. I called the police. They arrived. inspected the house, tapped on the walls, checked the ventilation. Nothing. One officer asked if I was on medication or had trouble sleeping. Another suggested changing the locks and installing an alarm. They left. At night, I didn't lock my bedroom door. I sat in the dark and waited around 3 in the morning. I heard someone slowly unscrewing the vent cover. Very slowly, carefully. I didn't move. The cover fell to the floor. A hand emerged from the darkness, human, dirty, dried out, with long nails. Then a head. The face was thin, almost expressionless. The eyes were attentive, not angry. More like concerned. He looked at me and whispered, "You woke up earlier than the others." I passed out. When I came to, it was morning. The vent cover was back in place. The bedroom door was closed. No marks. No evidence. But there was a note on the nightstand. The paper was old, yellowed. The handwriting uneven. "We don't hurt anyone. We just live here. You're not the first. And not the last." I sold the house 3 months later. Very cheaply. The new owners were a young couple. They were happy with the deal. 6 months later, I received a letter from them. They asked if I'd ever noticed strange sounds at night. I didn't reply, but sometimes, when I wake up in the middle of the night in my new apartment, I realize I'm listening carefully to the walls. Because the scariest thing I learned is this: they aren't hiding. They're waiting for you to get used to it. And maybe, in every old house, someone is already living there.